If it goes right, it's a slice. If it goes left, it's a hook. If it goes straight, it's a miracle. This is Out of Bounds. If it's happening in the world of golf, we're talking about it. Coverage, debate, discussion, pro golf and local golf. Let's do it. This is Out of Bounds. And here are your hosts, Nate Sharman and Josh Durso.
All right, welcome to the Pick'em edition of the Out of Bounds podcast. Josh Durso, Nate Sharman, and Paul Russo here with you, breaking down everything you need to know ahead of the Masters tournament this weekend. Nate, kind of quiet. It's been kind of quiet the last couple of days. No, none of the drama that some thought might have played out over the Champions Dinner.
Yeah, we thought we would see some, fireworks, so to speak, right at the Champions Dinner, especially between the PGA Tour guys and the LIV guys. But everyone seems pretty civil. Everyone's kind of focused on the task at hand, which is something that some thought would happen too. I was kind of personally hoping we would see a little bit more, but not a ton of drama between the two sides. We did have a couple fun things out of the press conference. We'll start with Tiger Woods. He had his normal press conference on Tuesday at the Masters. And, Josh, whenever Tiger has a press conference, anytime throughout his career, they ask him, well, more so the later part of his career, can you win? That's always the question that's there. And Tiger always gives the same answer of, I wouldn't be here if I can't win. I don't do that. And this year, he kind of strayed from that a little bit. He kind of was hesitant to answer that question, more kind of talked about his body and how he's a little bit he seemed a little bit nervous that he was going to be able to get through 4 rounds with that bionic right leg, right? So he kind of talks about how he's kind of happy to be here a little bit, which was kind of a different kind of way from Tiger from the usual press conferences at Tuesday at the Masters. And then they went on to talk about how this could be his last one, and they asked him some questions about that. So I thought it was definitely really interesting from Tiger because that's not something you usually see from Tiger. He usually tells you that he's here to win. He wouldn't be here if he wasn't. So I thought that was really interesting yesterday from the Masters champion.
There's no way this is his last one.
I wouldn't think so, but it could be, I guess.
I don't see that happening. I was a little bit intrigued by his coming out in support of the rolled back golf ball.
Yeah, that's another thing I wanted to talk about too.
Thought that was kind of it. What are your thoughts on him coming out? Obviously, we've heard Rory be supportive of it, but those two have kind of been the only ones. What do you think it changes now that Tiger's come out and said, hey, I support it, been saying it for a while?
I mean, Tiger and Rory share a lot of beliefs, right? I wouldn't say they're attached at the hip, but a lot of the same kind of thoughts they have, especially about the tour and everything, are kind of shared. So I'm not really surprised to see Tiger come out and be supportive of rolling the golf ball back. You kind of look at his meaning. He's kind of saying he's always believed that there should have like a pro golf ball compared to what amateurs use. So I kind of think that's an okay argument. Josh, I know you're not a proponent of rolling back the golf ball. I kind of see where Rory and Tiger kind of come from. What are your thoughts after seeing Eldrick's kind of thinking about rolling back the golf ball?
It just feels like a foregone conclusion now. Like I'm tired of,
Yeah, if Tiger and Rory are about it, then they might just do it.
Right. Like these debates that feel like they have a lot of meaning, when a proposal like this is rolled out and then you see the two most influential and powerful people in golf come out in support of it. I mean, it's happening. There's no way getting around that.
They brought some sort of Balata ball to practice. Him and Rory were kind of using it around the practice areas at Augusta National, which is kind of interesting. Yeah.
I mean, in principle, I think it's great. I just think it's a really weird time to do it because this problem that they're trying to solve for, I see a lot of talk about the environmental impacts of golf and a lot of other things related to golf courses having to get more land. And look, at the end of the day, that's a problem that exists 40, 50 years from now. That isn't a 2023 problem. And by the way, the environmental impact of golf, for anybody in the golf industry who thinks that environmental activists who have long hated golf and in the golf industry overall are exclusively worried about golf courses buying more land and not the absolute monstrosity of chemicals and water that it takes to maintain these pro golf courses. It's almost like they're looking at the wrong problem. Like if I'm the PGA Tour, or if I'm the USGA, or if I'm any of these entities, I'm trying to figure out a way to make golf courses have a smaller footprint, be less of an environmental impact, whether it be through water use or whether it be through the various chemicals that are used to actually maintain these golf courses. I'm not worried about the rolling the golf ball back so that these courses don't, like a few golf courses don't have to buy, more acreage. It just seems like the wrong thing to be focused on, if that makes sense.
Right. Let's take a look at some of the other press conferences. We'll switch over to the LIV Tour. Cam Smith was really interesting in his. He was really honest, to be honest, Josh. He was kind of saying that, I realize that the LIV golf circuit has lesser players, not as strong of fields. And he just thinks it's really important for LIV guys to play well, the 18 guys that are in the field to play well this week, to kind of show the world that, this tour is ascending, right? So I thought it was really cool from Cam Smith to go out and say, the fields aren't as strong as PGA Tour. He even didn't quite say that he misses the PGA Tour, but he does say he misses playing against some of the best guys in the world, i.e. Jon Rahm, Scottie Scheffler, etc. But I thought it was really cool from Cam to be brutally honest about LIV and kind of talk through that through his press conference at Augusta.
Yeah, he misses it because he's one of them. He misses it because he's one of those guys.
And the final sort of fun thing from the press conference was Bubba Watson, the former Masters champion, was kind of talking about LIV, and they asked him just a hypothetical question: if LIV were to ever fold, what would happen? What would happen to him? And Bubba really wanted to make sure that that's just a rumor. So that was just really kind of a hypothetical sense between him and Bubba. And Bubba said, "I'll just retire. I'm pretty happy." He doesn't really worried about kind of going anywhere else. So I just thought that was kind of a fun little tidbit from that press conference where, Bubba, he's always going to give you that answer that you're looking to hear. He's never going to sugarcoat anything. So it would be really interesting if the LIV Tour were to fall down in the next few years. Bubba would just kind of call quits. He'll just play the Masters, and he's always been a fun guy to watch.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of honesty, he's, that's another guy who's been pretty straightforward about his position and, where he stands. And, from a personal standpoint, I think that's probably the position of most of the guys that are like 35 plus years old who join LIV.
Yeah, they got a pile of money too.
They got their money to join. They're making money now while they play. And if LIV folds up in the next couple of years, they retire and they live a perfectly happy, life, probably similar to the one they would be living in the new PGA Tour, right? Because a lot of these guys wouldn't be able to contend in the top 50 or be considered in this upper echelon anymore. So, they'd probably be pushed into retirement anyway.
Right. All right, let's get to what we were looking for here in this Pick'em episode, the odds. So we take a look at different sports books, and you see Scheffler at the top, a guy that won here last year, about 7-1. The rest of it kind of follows through as Scheffler. Cam Smith's a little farther behind, but you got Rory right behind him at 7-1 also. Jon Rahm at 8.5-1. And then you have this big gap. You have about a good amount of gap till you get to Patrick Cantlay, who's 16-1 shared there with Jordan Spieth at the same spot. I thought it was really interesting looking at the odds. You have these top three guys, then you have a gap until you have the rest of your guys. Probably about a good sizable 10-1 gap in between. You go from about 9-1 or a little shorter than that to about 16. So a little less than 10, but it's just really interesting to see. I was kind of looking through it. I was like, wow, this really, the Vegas really thinks these top three guys have this good of a chance in Rory, Rahm, and Scheffler.
And I even saw Scotty's odds dropped further.
Wow.
Odds got even better. They're 5-1 now as of literally 20 minutes ago. It's crazy. Like to see one person have 5-1 odds. It's insane. But
only three people ever have gone back to back at the Masters. Tiger Woods, Nick Faldo, and Jack Nicklaus. So it's pretty good company to get in if Scheffler's able to get it done. But how long they've been playing the Masters, that's really, really challenging to go back to back.
Yeah. So let's talk picks to win. Nate, who do you have to win this week?
So I gave you guys DJ 22-1. I got a little bit on him. And then my other pick, I just talked about him, Scottie Scheffler. I used the boost on DraftKings. They have a little plus 300 boost going on. So I took him at 7-1, boosted up to 10-1. I think that's pretty awesome spot to be in with Scottie Scheffler. You really can't hate that if you're looking at odds with 10-1 for Scottie to repeat. So I wouldn't be surprised if he dons another green jacket on Sunday at the Masters.
And Paul?
I'm going Rory. You talk about in sports, quote unquote, revenge games and stuff like this, kind of like a reverse revenge here. Obviously, we know about how vocal he's been about, the LIV deals and stuff like that, but I don't want to dwell too much on that. I want to talk some numbers a little bit here, though, with Rory here. Go a little bit maybe deeper. Second last year, missed the cut in 21, but tied for fifth in the 2020 Fall Masters. But here's the thing about last year that I really like. He was green in regulation 69% of the time. That was second in the field. Average drive distance of 318.1, best overall in the field last year. And then when he was in the fairway last year, he made par or better 95% of the time.
Pretty good.
I think a guy like Rory, especially when he's got the momentum on his side, it's hard to stop. And to me, with everything else going on, I'm rolling with Rory this week.
I like it. It's not a bad pick. It pretty much comes down to whether he has control or that driver or not.
Right.
The career Grand Slam. He's been trying to look for that for a while now at the Masters. I would love to see him get it done.
Long time.
Right. Well, he hasn't won
back.
Right. He hasn't won a major since 2014.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm actually going to pick. So I've got a bit of a hedge here. I don't think it's very smart to pick against Scottie Scheffler. I know it's pretty rare to go back to back, but I don't think we've seen anybody play as dominantly over the medium term here. I'll say over the last year than Scottie Scheffler. So at 5-1 odds, he really is a favorite, and kind of silly to bet against that. But I really like Cam Smith, and I know the odds are a little longer, 15-1 where I checked. But you know what? Like, he is still, as I've said over and over again, he is one of the 5 best golfers in the world. You can't tell me otherwise. So with 15-1 odds, I really like that. It's the best combination of favorite and not sort of giveaway odds. So it's one of those right in the middles. And look, he's got the game to hang around. I think this is probably an event he's spent a little more time getting prepared for and getting ready for. And, he could come out firing this weekend, and I wouldn't mind seeing it.
Yeah, Cam's a really interesting one. I like that pick a lot, Josh. He's just, after talking about that press conference earlier, he just seems really focused this year. He's usually a guy that's pretty quiet too, but he got here a little bit later than usual. They had that LIV event that wrapped up on Sunday, so wasn't able to get here till Monday afternoon. He cited that he was able to be a little bit later than usual. But, a guy that he was in the final group last year, right? He ended up faltering a little bit on that Sunday round. I think he came in third. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's around on Sunday, and it would be pretty fun to watch, in my opinion.
All right, now let's talk long shot betting odds as far as value is concerned here. Paul, let's start with you. You have what I think is among the longest of long shots, and I've got thoughts about that, but let us know who you have.
Yeah, it's just about right. I'm going with a fellow LIV guy in Mino Pereira. First Masters appearance, but it was weird. Like I kind of went to pretty much the back half of that list, right?
Yep.
And it's weird. Since 2000, the new millennium, every 8 or so years, we kind of get, I wouldn't say a random guy, but look, Danny Willett, and Trevor Immelman, every 8 years, Immelman in 08, Willett in 16, kind of have these guys who,
Poor Jordan Spieth in 16. That was wild.
Right. But it's like every 8-ish years, these guys who kind of just, I wouldn't say linger, but not your go-to names,
right? Kind
of get it done. And I think if, in all honesty, if a LIV guy's going to do it, it's not going to maybe be. I do like the Cam Smith pick only because when he's like you guys have been saying, right? I mean, he's probably still a minimum at top 5 golfer in the world still at this point. Right.
Yep.
But I'd say outside of him, I think if a LIV guy's going to do well, it's not going to be your Brooks or somebody like that where it's a really banger headliner. I think it's going to be one of the guys who kind of maybe is a semi afterthought, because for them, you're just going out and you're playing more or less. There's not going to be, I think, the true spotlight on them. So I think, yeah, that's more or less my thought on it with taking Mito.
I like it. Nate, what do you got?
I got 3 long shots for you. Brooks, we talked about earlier in the week, 44-1. I think Brooks can play well this week. He looks to be healthy coming off a win at LIV. I wouldn't be surprised if he's around. Chris Kirk, another one of mine. He won earlier in the year on the PGA Tour, so he's got some confidence there. He's 180-1. And then rounding out my long shots, Billy Horschel, 230-1. If you're going to give me that price on Billy Horschel, I'm probably going to take it. He's never won a major, obviously, but I really think he could have a chance to play well, and that number is just too great to see. So I took it.
Those guys don't win. I mean, I just in a tournament like this, I just can't even consider somebody who's got odds like beyond like 60, 70-1. I mean, it's not going to happen.
No, you're absolutely correct. Yeah.
Like no offense to these guys, but so I actually settled on a guy who's kind of middle of the pack, right around that Brooks number that you mentioned. Tom Kim, 40-1. I think he's, talk about what Paul mentioned, with Mito being able to kind of fly under the radar, combined with, the energy of one of the best up and coming golfers in the PGA Tour right now. I think Tom Kim checks both of those boxes off. He exploded onto the scene last year. But since last fall, he's kind of, I don't want to say flown under the radar, but he's definitely not getting as much press attention as he was before, which I think creates a really good environment for a young guy like that, he's got the tools to win, to go out and play well and maybe get a win. And again, 40-1, I like those odds. He's around. He's not, deep in the pack, but he's definitely not a favorite. He's not even close to a favorite. So with him, I think it all depends on how Thursday and Friday go, especially Thursday. If he's able to get some confidence early in this first round and carry that over into the second round, he doesn't need to be, atop the leaderboard or, really anywhere near the top of the leaderboard. If he's in position and he can get comfortable and make a move on Saturday, I think we could see a Tom Kim Masters champion, which I just think would be awesome for golf too.
Sure would.
All right. So shifting gears here, DFS lineups. It is time once again to get going here and talk about our picks. I'm sure you guys have got yours in front of you. Start with me. Cam Smith leading the way. I've been on this bandwagon all week, so I felt like I had to stick with it here. Also felt like there was a little bit of value there too, because he wasn't quite as expensive as obviously like Scotty Scheffler, John Rahm, Rory McIlroy. So saved a couple bucks there when I was creating my lineup. Obviously, taking Brooks Koepka, Justin Rose, Keegan Bradley, Jason Day. Now, here's a guy I think that's really interesting, because I keep hearing chatter when I'm reading through some of these like day-to-day PGA reports of different players saying that, he's going the right direction. He is trending the right direction. Jason Day, we saw him play pretty well during the match play event a couple weeks ago. So, you start to wonder if a guy like that could potentially hang around and do something this weekend. So I picked him and rounded out my lineup with Will Zalatoris, and that absolutely treacherous putting stroke he has. We'll see what he can do, and hopefully he makes the cut.
Yeah, I'm really interested by that Justin Rose pick, Josh. I have him in one of my props that we'll talk about here at the end, but I think he'll play well. Rosie has been really historically well at the Masters, bunch of top tens.
So who do you have?
I'm going to in my DFS lineup. I got Scotty Scheffler leading the way. Got to have one of my outright picks leading the way. I also have DJ, Brooks, Chris Kirk, Billy Horschel, and Min-Woo or Him-Woo Lee. I really like watching Min-Woo Lee play too. A really good player that's kind of sprouted this year. So those are my 6 for DraftKings. Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Rory's my big hired gun here as we look at it that way. But I went with JT, Justin Thomas next. If you look at the DraftKings DFS side of things anyway, 9,300. I kind of caught me off guard. I figured he'd probably be priced up maybe at least north of the 95 range. But
he's a guy that nobody's talking about, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Thomas.
It caught me off guard that he was priced that low, and it's weird saying it that way, but
that's just going to happen though with these strong fields.
Right. Yeah, and then I always look at for price wise, but also I'm rolling Willie Z as well. Keegan Bradley, Taylor Moore, and Mito Pereira round out my six. So it's a little bit different. I kind of I think the regular listeners know how I harp on how I go about it, and to me this is probably one of my more balanced price lineups in all honesty. But then again, you kind of hit it there. This is obviously it's the first major of the year, but you got the main heavy hitters coming over from LIV, so it's a bit of a heavier field.
Yeah, I'm going to be really interested to see how Paul and I feel Sunday night about our Will Zalatoris pick, but we'll see how that pans out for us. Nate, you got some props for us?
We all got at least one LIV guy in our lineup. Love to see that we all have a LIV guy in our lineup. Going to the props. Yep. On FanDuel, there was a boosted one. So I took the bait. Tiger to make the cut, and Jason Day top 20 finish. That's boosted to around 330. Tiger just kind of scares me with what he's doing. I think he makes the cut though. The Masters making the cut isn't as difficult. You only have about 88 players, and they take the top 50 in ties. Yeah. And then you have about 5 to 10 guys that are just there to play. Former champions that don't really have much of a business making the cut. So making the cut at the Masters isn't, I don't want to say isn't as difficult, but it really isn't to make it compared to all the other tournaments. And then my other one goes right into making the cut, right? It's a make the cut boost, or not boost, excuse me. I made up myself. Corey Connors, Justin Rose, and Tom Hoagie, all to make the cut. Coming right around plus 120 on FanDuel this morning. You take a look at these three guys. Corey Connors, we've talked about 3 top 10s in his last 3 Masters appearances. And won the Valero Texas Open last week, so playing as good as golf as he possibly can. Justin Rose, 17 starts at the Masters. He has 6 top 10s, and he's made the cut 15 of 17 times. So pretty comfortable going with Rosie. And Tom Hoagie, he's the opposite of Justin Rose. He's only played in 1 Masters. He played in it last year for his first time. Came in T39, so 1 of 1 on cuts made. Playing well this season. He's got 11 for 15 for cuts made this season, so pretty confident with those 3 to be around for Saturday and Sunday, and hopefully bring me home some money.
Yeah, make the cut easy, low bar right there. I like that bet. All right, hey, that is going to do it for this week's Out of Bounds. We will be back after the Masters. You can follow Out of Bounds on TikTok, Instagram, and of course, subscribe here on YouTube. And remember, whether it's down the middle or out of bounds, keep on swinging.
You've been listening to Out of Bounds. If it's coverage, debate, or discussion of pro and local golf, we'll be talking about it. Be sure to visit the website at fingerlakes1.com. Find us on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at OutofBoundsFL1. See you next time on Out of Bounds.